Hello, my name is Jason JROCK Houston. Tonight I'm talking with guitar player Mike Hamill. Mike, you're the lead guitar player from a Def Leppard tribute band called Def LeGen, based out of Dallas, Fort Worth. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, and Mike, I guess the best place to start this interview off is if you could share with us how you first got into the music of Def Leppard.
Well, I've been a Def Leppard fan since I was a small kid. Just remember hearing, actually the first song I've ever heard from Def Leppard was the song Let It Go, and when I heard it, it just blew me away, and I instantly became a fan of the band, and I've been a big fan ever since.
And now let me ask you, Mike, Def Leppard's one of those bands, they go from a gamut of, doing, ballad type stuff to, the hard rockers. Do you have a preference as far as when you're playing this material?
I like both, but, to be quite honest, I think most guys that play in bands would prefer the more hard rock stuff. But, Def Leppard did such a great job writing their material that even the ballads that we have chosen to play are fun to play, and the fans of the band seem to enjoy getting to hear those live. So we like both.
And let me ask you, Mike, are you playing the role of Steve Clark or Phil Collins?
I play the role of Phil Collins, so I'm the only guy in the band that has short hair, which Phil does, so it kind of worked out just right.
And let me ask you, how long has Def LeGen been together?
Def LeGen has been together about 16 or 17 months now, somewhere in that time frame.
Okay.
We have seen a tremendous amount of success in that first, year and a half. Not quite a year and a half, but we've had a tremendous amount of success so far.
And let me ask you, because I'm talking to you from Los Angeles, California tonight, and you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. Now, I think part of the reason you might have seen such success is the fact that, in that particular area where you are, there's not, to my knowledge, any other Def Leppard tribute bands around. Why do you think that is?
Well, actually, there are a couple of others based in the Texas area.
Oh, okay.
I'll, keep those names silent.
Yeah.
Just,
I hear you.
For the reason, obviously everybody would know. So,
Yeah,
there are a couple other bands, but we've just taken the time with this one to try and be as authentic as we could possibly be with the way the members look in the band, as well as, down to playing the instruments that they play today, and even down to the drum kit. We kind of looked at their peak when the Mania album came out. That really vaulted Def Leppard into superstardom, and so we even chose to go with the silver drum kit that Rick Allen played back in the day. And,
wow.
We all have authentic guitars. I play the Phil Collins Model Jackson guitars on stage. Our bass player plays custom Rick Savage basses, and so we really put a lot of effort into that. We dress like they dress. Down to got a chain hanging off my side pocket the way Phil does. I wear the vest that he wears. I wear the pants. We just have really put a lot of effort into not only playing the songs right, but trying our best to look like them and emulate them on stage.
Yeah, I
think that's what vaulted us rather quickly to be noticed with a lot of venues and festivals and casinos and such.
And let me ask you, Mike, because again, I'm talking to you from Los Angeles, California, and you're in Texas, and so I've never had the benefit of seeing one of your shows, but I got to tell people that just seeing your Facebook page, I'm pretty impressed because, like you're saying, I'm looking at some of the photos on your Facebook page as we speak, and I'm just, really impressed with how much effort you guys have put into trying to look as much like the band as you possibly can.
Yeah, we're at a little bit of disadvantage versus a band like Kiss per se, because makeup and those types of costumes makes it easy to transform somebody into looking like Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley, etc. So with us, it's really difficult because of we're only going to look so much like the band because we don't have any of that.
Yeah.
But I think we did a really outstanding job in finding people that were not only talented enough to do it, but were willing to put the effort into the look as well. Because in a tribute band, that's extremely important, is to have the total package, and that's what we want to do is have the total package, and we feel like, obviously being prejudiced, that looking around at the competition out there, that overall look and sound of the band and effort to present Def Leppard to the fans, we've really had our little head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to the total package, and we're proud of that. And it's not in an arrogant way. It's just we took some of the other ideals the bands had out there, and because there are some pretty good Def Leppard tributes out there, and we looked at that and we gauged ourselves as this band is the best, this band might be the next best, etc. And we wanted to go above and beyond what they have done to set ourselves apart, for that matter. And like I say, we feel like we have done that. We're not where we want to be yet. It's definitely been a work in progress. But in less than a year and a half, I think we've come a long ways with that. And we're continuing to improve the show, constantly adding new material. When Def Leppard does something live, I mean, we've added a lot of their live stuff, including the way they toured with Kiss this year. We presented a Kiss Def Leppard show to House of Blues here in Dallas. They bought it, and it was a smash hit. We've even went to the point of Def Leppard uses a portion of a song from The Who to start their show as kind of their intro, and we've incorporated that into our show. So we're trying to stay up to date with what they're doing, and as far as the look, we're not trying to emulate Def Leppard when they were 20-something years old, because we're obviously all in our 40s, and we're never going to look like they looked when they were 20, so we're trying to accomplish what they are doing today quite a bit, since they're back out and have become very relevant again in the music industry, touring quite a bit. So we're trying to give the people something that they enjoy and something that they can respect, the effort that we're doing.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, Mike, as hard as it is, to look identically like anybody, out there, I give you guys props because, I mean, again, just looking at the photos on your Facebook page, I'm impressed that, as close as you can look to the guys in Def Leppard, you got the same type of stage outfits that they would wear. I mean, your singer almost looks like a dead-on, Joe Elliott, and, the lead singer, he's one of the focal points of the band. So, I think you guys are as close as you can get, and even I'm even impressed with the band's name, Def LeGend. I mean, most tribute bands will typically name themselves after a song or after an album by the band they're paying tribute to. I think Def LeGend, that there's no doubt to who you're paying tribute to, but at the same time, it's somewhat more of an original name, and if you're just naming yourself after one of the band's songs, you know what I mean?
Right, and that was exactly what we were targeting, is to do that, because there are other bands out there with the name of an album, and that's cool. But we thought, we wanted it to be something that looked like Def Leppard, and when the legend came up, we thought of, we were thinking of what is a good word that means tribute, and we tossed around a few things, and when the word legend came up, it just kind of, everybody seen that and was like, man, this is it. So we drew up Def LeGend, and we looked at it, and then, it came to the point where something was still missing, and originally we were just going to spell it with one G, and then as I was looking at the way Leopard was spelled with the two G's, I came up with the idea to add that extra G, and it was just like, voila, that's absolutely what we needed right there. And, it's been perfect, and we've had, I can't tell you how many people have complimented us on that name as well, for that same very reason, as it's very original. There could be a Ken band's name Pyromania, Ken band's name Hysteria, but we locked down this one, and it's ours. So, and it's something that says, hey, this band, we're tributing this band, and the word legend is just something that we feel like they are. They're a legendary rock band that helped mold today's music along with many other bands. So that was kind of how we came up with that idea. It's worked extremely well. And
I think that concept you came up with, because I was just going to mention that before you brought up the fact about doubling up on the G. I mean, that is so Leopard-like, and I think that just That's another great thing about what an original name for his band. And now let me ask you, Mike, as far as being a Def Leppard fan yourself, do you have an all-time favorite album that you like to listen to?
Man, that's tough. That's really tough to pinpoint specifically one album. It would be really tough for me to choose, but I'd have to narrow it down to two, and it would definitely be Pyromania and Hysteria. And actually, Hysteria is probably my favorite Def Leppard song of all time. So it's just a great song. Although there are many, that's probably the one that sticks out to me the most. But those two albums definitely, for me, are what made me into the fan of the band that I am today. And even as a kid,
I mean,
those two albums really solidified, like I say, their stardom in the world. But I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but I think most of them feel the same way, just based on conversations. But, if I can, I wanted to interject one other thing about the name.
Sure.
The other thing that we like about the name, Def LeGen, is it has given us the ability to be able to sell merchandise, etc. We've got a nice line of shirts, and we've made different things, koozies, buttons, whatever, and because it doesn't say Leppard, and because it's not one of their album names, etc., we don't have any kind of
copyright issues,
repercussions or copyright infringements coming out of that. So it's for marketing purposes, it's been incredible as well. It's allowed us to have our own brand, and it's allowed us to build a business model. For the band, it's just like I say, it's just growing rapidly, and we've are getting the attention going into 2015 that we had hoped for as far as the kind of shows that we want to do. We don't want to just be your bar band that plays on every little bar in town. That's not what we created this band to be, and thank God, with the efforts the guys have put into it, it definitely looks like that is paying off for us. So it's been great.
And now let me ask you, Mike, is Def LeGen was an existing project that you had joined, or is this something you started with some of the other guys?
It was my idea to start the band. To be honest, I was in a Def Leppard tribute before Def LeGen, and I just had some different ideas, and I wanted to take it to the level that we have taken this band to, as far as the look and sound of the band, and just doing the right things about what Def Leppard does, and so it was my idea to put it together, and fortunately, I knew some guys that were big Def Leppard fans too. Kind of one of the cool stories about this band is our other guitar player. His name's James May. He plays the Steve Clark role. He and I have been friends for over 30 years.
Wow.
I'm telling age here, but when I was a kid, he was my first guitar teacher. So he's a few years older than me.
Oh, wow.
And we just developed a friendship that has stayed all these years. And now 30 years later, we're playing in this really cool band together. So that's one of my favorite parts of this band is the relationships that we built amongst the guys. We're all really close. But to have that one guy that I've known for 30 plus years now, to be able to play in a band with the guy that taught me how to play my first G chord is pretty cool. It's kind of a cool story for us to tell occasionally.
Yeah, I mean,
after shows, and people seem to get a kick out of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, how cool is that? And that's a great thing about paying tribute to a band like Leppard. I mean, just get away from what great music they've made over the years. I mean, one thing I've always admired about the band is, when some of the, band members have gone through, some turmoil, they always, their friendship came first. They always stuck together. I mean, I've heard Joe Elliott countless times saying, when Rick Allen lost his arm, man, we weren't going to kick him out of the band. We were going to let him tell us he couldn't do it. I just thought, that's totally great, that a band like that, that their friendship comes first.
Right, absolutely, because it took them 3 years to release that next album after the accident.
Yeah.
And, they're at that time with the band just soaring to the heights they were. There would have been 1 million drummers on this planet that would have took that job in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And instead of seeing the dollar signs they were missing, they they decided to wait on their brother, and that, that is a great thing about that band. One of the things I admire about, the character and integrity those guys obviously have by doing that. So that's pretty cool,
Yeah, and you brought up, when I asked you what your favorite album, you said it's kind of between Pyromania and Hysteria, and that's typically what most people say. Pyromania, if you look at that, that's kind of like, on the heavier side of what they do, and then Hysteria's got a little more, it's got a little bit of, heavy element, but it's a little more pop oriented, and that's, I think that's why, people go between those two albums, because, Def Leppard's one of those bands that, there's a little something for everybody.
Right, that is true. So those albums definitely will satisfy your taste buds for the hard rock stuff, as well as the pop stuff and the ballads as well, that Hysteria produced. So, definitely, that's a great point for sure.
Yeah, so let me ask you, when you're putting Def LeGen together, how long did it take once you got your group of guys together and form a band until you were confident enough to play your first show?
Well, we put this band together in the middle of August, and we played our first show the middle of October, so it took us two months to be ready. And that was rushing it pretty quick, but we got an opportunity to play at a venue that we really wanted to get into, and we took an opening slot for a Journey tribute.
Oh, cool.
Just to get in there. We felt very confident that we could pull off an hour set, and we did, and the rest is history. We've our first year in doing this tribute, we have played about 30 shows. So.
Oh.
And they've been, they range from, all over the place. So we're not just local in Dallas. We've traveled all over Texas, and we've been up into Oklahoma, playing up there, and to Louisiana. So we've already, branched out a little bit to some of the other states around, and, ventured into the casino industry, which has been way cool for us. And it looks like that's going to be our niche going into next year. So
wow.
We have a lot of casinos offering, and they have a cool show coming up January 30th at a Choctaw Casino in Oklahoma. We will be the after party for a Tesla show. So Tesla's playing in the casino, and they're done. Then, we'll be in a different part of the casino playing. That we're looking forward to that.
Oh, how cool is that? Yeah.
The tribute thing is really cool. If I could say, just seeing what I've seen. This is, I guess, going into my 5th year doing a tribute thing. And just over that course of time, I never in a million years thought I would be able to go play somebody else's music and stand in front of 20,000 people. And, that's happened. I've played in front of 10,000 people a couple times. Yeah. 20,000 once. We've had several crowds in the 5,000 range.
Wow. How cool.
It just amazes me that people really get into the tribute thing.
Yeah, I mean, how cool is that? And congratulations on the gig coming up with Tesla, because I mean that reminds me back when Tesla was first breaking out, and they actually were opening up for Def Leppard. So that's a great thing that you guys actually get the chance to do that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's way cool. So we're hoping that we get to cross paths with them that night, but who knows how it will go. But we're hopeful that we get to do that. So. The other thing about tributes, it's really the product. When you look at the tribute bands that are successful, that's why I'm grateful that I've been a huge Def Leppard fan my entire life. Is that there's a lot of great bands out there, but they don't necessarily have the draw that a band like Def Leppard would have. I could think of 50 bands, and most of them they would be hard pressed to draw a crowd doing a tribute to the band, and then there's some bands that are overkill to the like 200 Beatle tributes.
Oh yeah.
I'm not knocking it because it's great and they all have their place, but when you find one that has a niche that not very many other bands can pull off, it helps you out a little bit, and then as we were talking about the albums earlier, the catalog of hits that Def Leppard has is just tremendous. Everybody knows there's probably 20 songs that even people that are not huge Def Leppard fans recognize as Def Leppard songs when they come on the radio.
That
helps out as well.
I mean, who hasn't heard, Pour Some Sugar on Me or Rock Rock Till You Drop or Photograph, at some point in their life.
Rock.
Yeah, yeah. And you make a great point, Mike, because it's kind of the point I was trying to make earlier. That you got like thousands of Led Zeppelin tributes and thousands of AC/DC tributes, and I think that's one thing you guys got working for you. Well, there's a couple other Def Leppard tributes popping up here and there. That the market is not oversaturated with Def Leppard tributes right now, and I think that's one of the things you guys got working in your favor right now.
Absolutely, we sure do, and that's like I say, it's been a great thing, and we, as I said, it's getting to the point now for us that we're not having to go out and hustle gigs anymore. They're starting to come to us, and that's a nice feeling that people are taking notice of something that you put a lot of heart and soul into, and so like I say, we're starting to get those people reaching out to us, and it's not Texas stuff; it's stuff all abroad, across the country. Now we're starting to get offers coming to different states and venues and festivals, and so we're hopeful that most of these things will fall into place for us. And we've got to let our Dallas fan base, which has become very huge for us, we've got to let them know going into next year that we won't be playing Dallas as often as we did this first year. So hopefully that'll keep them hungry to see us. We don't want to be the band they can go see every other week somewhere.
Yeah. Well, wow, how cool is that? And I got to tell you, Mike, part of the reason I started interviewing guys like you that play in tribute bands is I've seen several tribute bands myself, and I've just pretty much my experience has been I really haven't seen a bad one yet. I mean, I'm sure there's some bad ones that exist, but that hasn't been my experience. And I've really been impressed with all the hard work and dedication goes putting on a successful tribute band. And part of the thing with putting these interviews together that I do is because there's a huge misconception out there by a lot of people that think, oh, guys that play in tribute bands or musicians in tribute bands, they're failed musicians. They can make it doing their own original thing. But that's really not the case. So I guess the next thing I'd like to ask you, as far as your experience, is a guy that's been a working musician all these years, why did you finally decide 5 years ago to go the route of the tribute scene?
Well, I think most of us that are musicians all had that same dream when we were young to be a rock star. I think that that's probably the case for just about every guy that's ever picked up a guitar or a pair of drumsticks. But you give it a shot and you do your best. But there's a million musicians out there that are just incredibly talented. And at this day and age, there's a lot of luck involved in being discovered. So I think we've all tried it. We've all put our heart and soul into that. When I was young in my early 20s, I traveled across the country a little bit with some bands and, did some stuff and struggled to make it. And, at some point, as most people do, I got married, started having children, stuff like that. And I decided, it's time to be a dad. I can always play music. You can't always be a dad. And I didn't want to miss out on that kind of stuff. So, I laid the music down and just, waited until, my kids were old enough to, know I'm still there. But I stepped away from playing out live for a number of years.
Yeah, and I think
I came to it about 10 years ago.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
That's my experience with it. But I chose to do the tribute thing just because I started seeing. Honestly, the first one I ever seen was a Beatles tribute. I went to a racetrack, a horse track here in the North Texas area, and I seen this Beatles tribute. And they were really good, and down to the look and everything. And I was like, man, that's really cool. That those guys are doing that, and obviously they're playing in front of a lot of people today. And it just stuck in my head. And a few years later, I started getting involved in cover bands and just playing just a variety cover thing, and met certain individuals that were involved in other tribute bands, and like I say, one thing led to another, and this Def Leppard tribute popped up in town, and the Bill Collins Park came open, and I was asked about it, and I jumped on it, and that's history, I guess we say.
Yeah. And let me ask you, once you decided to go the route of a tribute band, how surprised were you to see even in the last year and a half that you've had Def LeGen going? How surprised have you been to see the success that has come your way just doing the tribute thing?
it just blows me away every time we go to a show, even if it's something local. There's a few even bars that we still play. There's a couple of them we built good relationships with, and we still continue to do those. And when you get in a bar and they max out at 500 people or something, and you go play this bar like 2 or 3 times a year maybe, and every time you go, there's so many people in there you can't walk through. That to me is almost as cool as playing in front of 20,000 people.
Yeah.
There's really this amount of people that totally dig what we're doing, and they, the people are so nice, and other than the friendships that we've built amongst the band, the fan base and the relationships and friendships we built with the people that have been following us the last year and a half, it just blows me away. I mean, I have extremely close friendships with, I can't even put a number to it, but maybe as many as 50 people that, I talk to on a regular basis now that I never knew before this band, so, that kind of stuff, it's just really cool,
I mean, and the fan base,
like that, so,
the fan base.
I think all of us feel that way when we go do a show and there's, we go play a House of Blues show and there's 1,500 people in there. It's like, wow, this is really cool,
Yeah, I mean, the fan base is really an amazing thing with these trippy bands because you got a built-in audience. I mean, when people come to see Def LeGen, they kind of have a pretty good idea of the songs they're going to hear, if you know what I mean. And and then
and that's key. That's key is knowing what songs the people want to hear, and because honestly, there's some Def Leppard songs that I really love that I would love to play, but a lot of the Def Leppard fans, that are not, the hardcore fans don't know anything you do, but there's, the fans that love Def Leppard, but they may not necessarily know every song Def Leppard ever did. So, there's some of those kind of songs I would love to do, but at the same time, I don't want to sacrifice something that people know for something that I want to do, because it's about giving the fans what they want, not what we want. And that's kind of how we approached it versus, some of the other bands out there, doing it a little different.
Yeah. How cool is that? And then, I think, like you brought up the point earlier, when you're in your younger days, like a lot of musicians coming up, you had dreams about becoming a rock star. But this is, this is probably the next best thing, or the closest you're ever going to be to becoming feeling like a rock star. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We do joke around about that all the time in the band, because we go play some places. You get a nice festival or a casino, when you're done, I mean, you're literally signing autographs, and there's people taking pictures of you and with you, and it's just, it is. I was like, it's almost like, we're putting on a play, really.
Yeah.
We're portraying somebody else. It's almost like going to see a play somewhere.
Yeah.
And so for people to think that we do it well enough to, want to take pictures with us and want to get autographs, that's funny. I mean, it just really cracks me up, but at the same time, it's very flattering that it happens. So, but one funny story that you might like is we played a small casino in southern Oklahoma, and it was kind of in a country town, not a lot of people that live in that town. We had a really nice crowd considering that, and when we were done, this lady came up to us, and she was like, "Oh my God, my son is not going to believe this. He moved to whatever other state, I don't know, somewhere out west, maybe Washington State. She's like, when I call him tomorrow and tell him you guys were here, he's just not going to believe it." And as she kept talking, we started realizing that she thinks that we're Def Leppard.
Wow.
It was just one of the funniest things. We had the biggest laughs at the hotel that night after the show.
Wow.
The lady literally thought we were Def Leppard.
Oh, wow. Again, how cool is that? Now, and I think a lot of times people fail to realize that you guys are just as much Def Leppard fans as the guys coming to see you. So, in a sense, you actually were guys that were in the audience at one point, and you jumped up on stage with the guitars and that. And I think what a cool way to get to make your living.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's really great. I mean, I would have to probably be on my deathbed to not miss a Def Leppard show when they come to town. I don't even know how many times I've seen them now, but been just about every possible time I can make it.
Yeah. You still there, Mike?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm a little under the weather today, so excuse me for
no problem. Like I said, we'll try not to keep you too much longer because I know you got things to do. But let me just say that one thing I myself enjoy about these tribute bands is I contributed to like to call it rock and roll theater, because again, when you go see a band like Def LeGen, you're not just seeing five guys up on stage in their jeans and t-shirts. You guys go the extra mile, trying to look the part, trying to sound like the original band. And the cool thing about that is I've actually experienced this. I seen a Guns N' Roses tribute out here in Hollywood called Hollywood Roses, and the first time I seen them, man, I had to pinch myself. I'm like, am I at a Guns N' Roses show? The singer looked like Axl Rose from 1987, and that's probably as close I'll ever get to seeing Slash and Axl playing on stage again, if you know what I mean. And you guys can give yourself, your audience a magical night to remember. Take them back to their, when they were teenagers, and that's a pretty remarkable thing to be able to do.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny you say that because we hear that a lot. A lot of people say, that same very thing. I felt like I was in high school again tonight, or I felt like I was at the first Def Leppard show I ever went to. So it is a great feeling to be able to give the fans something like that. And the word tribute, just to be able to pay tribute to Def Leppard is just, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be getting to do what we do today. Most of the guys in our band, we all work normal jobs as well, and we get to be weekend rock stars. Like I said, the next best thing to the real thing is doing this. So it's incredible. I'm sure most of the other tribute bands out there that are experiencing my success feel the same way.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep pushing as hard as we can, and keep trying to become better at what we do, and give them a better show. We're over this next year or so, we're working on adding LED screens and
cool.
Just to make the show bigger and better. We play the songs as good as they can be played.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all the other Def Leppard tribute bands do as well. But I think what we want to do to separate ourselves from anybody else is in the presentation. And we feel like we're already doing that, but we're not satisfied with what the final product is at this time. So, like I said, we've got new stuff coming for our stage show, and hopefully sometime this next year we will have our LED screens incorporated into the show, which will make it even more authentic, because they use a lot of that these days as well. Heck, our backdrop looks just like the one they use on tour today.
Wow.
Look at what they use on this tour with Kiss.
Yeah.
Look at the backdrop. We have the same one, just is obviously not as big as theirs, because we don't get to play 20,000 seat arenas just on a regular basis. So, but this has been really cool. I'm really glad that you reached out to us, and appreciate what you are doing. I went and listened to the interview you did with Back in Black with Eric Sykes, who we're good friends with those guys, and I don't think it gets any better than that in the tribute world than Back in Black.
And have you ever?
And for you fans out there listening, we'd love for you to go check our website out, www.deflegend.com. We're on Facebook. We have just recently started a Twitter account, so you can find us just about any way, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd like for you to like our page and keep up with us, and if you're in an area that we haven't been to yet, we'd love for you to reach out and help us figure out how to come out your way. So. And
before we let you go, Mike, let me ask you just a couple more things. You brought up the name Back in Black, which I did do an interview with Eric, the bass player. Have you guys ever done any shows with them, or have you talked to them about doing any shows together?
Absolutely, yes, we have done. We've played at the Houston House of Blues with them, and we haven't done anything since then. It was actually our second show.
Oh, okay.
They reached out and asked us if we wanted to do opening slot for those guys, and we actually jumped on the opportunity, because that, for us, especially in this area, I know there's a lot of great tribute bands out there, but in this area, I can honestly probably say most of us aspire to be as successful at what we're doing as what those guys are, because they really got it down.
Yeah, I mean, just
the tribute thing, and I seen them, I was like, that's a tribute band right there. Lord, they're amazing.
Yeah, I got it.
We hope to do some more shows with them in the future. So, hopefully something works out. We stay in contact with them, and when the opportunity arises, I'm sure that show will happen again. And they're one of the very few tribute bands out there that we actually will go do the opening slot for, just because of that reason. They're amazing. Because we built our fan base up enough now where we draw extremely well too. So to do those two bands together is going to be a huge show when it happens again.
I mean, AC/DC, Def Leppard. I mean, what a great double bill, if you will. And
I know that's right. There's a big influence for Def Leppard from AC/DC. So
you made the point, which I started noticing when I'm doing these interviews and doing research for them. Like, tribute scene in Dallas is really growing. A lot of bands are starting to pop up in that area. I'm really
it is. We have a really solid stable of tribute bands here, and they're all really good. I mean, I could name off a ton of them. If you wanted me to, but we do have a strong base of tribute bands here, and I know the LA area does as well. So, from what I understand from all the promoters I've talked to across the country, that seems to be the area that they focus on, one or the other, when they want to get the best of the best. So, a lot of mutual respect. I've made friends with, some of the guys in the bands out there, and vice versa. We've traded networked information and stuff to try and help those guys come this way and us go that way. And that's one of the other cool things that we do that's a little different than some bands. Some bands don't want to do that. They don't want to give up their information. We're not like that. If you want to come to Dallas, I'm going to try and help you out.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the reason you guys have been, so successful. Besides, the level of talent in the band, because I got to say, one thing I respect among all the tribute bands I've encountered is there really seems to be a fraternity, if you will, among the tribute bands, where, like you said, they're all trying to help each other out. They're not competing necessarily with one another. Whereas if you were maybe in an original bands are always trying to, outdo one another, see whose album, charts higher or whatever. That's one thing I really dig about the tribute bands.
Right. That is true. I mean, just like the other Def Leppard tribute bands, I've been in contact, and some of them have contacted me, and we've talked. There's a singer in one of the tribute bands in California that has been very helpful to me. Has given me a lot of good advice about Def Leppard oriented stuff, and there's even one out on the East Coast. And I'll talk to those guys as well. And we've kind of always said, hey, if you ever need a fill-in player for something, just let me know. And we kind of extended that offer back and forth to help, and if it's something that's feasible for myself to do, either one of those bands called, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't look at them necessarily as competition. I look at them as people doing the same thing that we like doing. I'm not opposed to helping out. Doing something local. If there was another band in Dallas, it might be somewhat of a conflict. To do a local show, but anything out of town, I think any one of our guys would, if it was feasible, would go help another Def Leppard tribute.
How cool is that? And the last thing I want to ask you, Mike, before I finally let you go, is when you're performing the Def Leppard songs on stage, is it very important for you to play the songs note for note the way Phil does, or his guitar parts, or do you ever get the urge to kind of throw in Mike Hamill's influence in any of the playing?
I don't. I try and play it note for note, and I think being a tribute, that's what you have to do. The one thing that might separate us a little bit, one of the Def Leppard tributes, is we do try and incorporate some of the live versions of stuff. Like here at Hysteria, for example, they had this little bass riff that Rick Savage does that he did on that Hysteria tour and the round.